Hey, everybody. Welcome back once again to Dangerous Conversations with Dangerous Doug Gilbert and Tommy Wildfire Rich. We are on episode number 47, gentlemen. My goodness, we've been doing this for a while.
Man, we've been doing it way longer than you thought I would do it, Gene. And I think Tommy come on, and I didn't think you didn't think we'd still be doing it. But anyway, man, we have a good time on the show, and we hope everybody enjoys listening to us. And that Tommy is as busy as ever, Gene. He's got a lot of stuff to plug tonight. He's going. We watched him look through his book earlier, and I think it's like a 2-year book in 1 year's time. I'm not sure how this is working.
Big old book. Looked like a phone book he pulled out. And you asked him about a date. He flipped through about 20 pages before he got to the one we were looking for.
Now, Gene, you might not remember this. You're a little bit younger than me and Tommy, but it looked like a Sears catalog.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Oh, get out of here now. Look, let's get a little more fired up. I thought we was going to have to cancel the show for a minute. He wasn't fired up. Now he's smiling. I'm glad to see you smiling, Gene.
I hadn't smiled a lot the last couple of weeks, but I always have fun with you guys. That's why I always look forward to this, because we always have a good time.
You had to go today too, huh?
I did. They're gonna take my gallbladder out here in October, so I gotta enjoy my gallbladder while I got it.
Hey, Gene, you think we can plug some kind of match, and we can have a match between you and Tommy? Whoever loses your gallbladder.
Or I could come manage y'all at one of these shows y'all got, and that could be the stipulation. If y'all lose, I lose my gallbladder.
Or what if we just let Tommy cut your gallbladder out? That'd be something people would like to see.
I don't put that idea in his head.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I can do a gallbladder. Me too.
You go hide under the ring for the whole match and just slide out. And
yeah, just slide out at the end.
And then he'll put my gallbladder in that cooler he had under the ring.
You come out and put the chloroform on you and do it right there in the ring.
And then you put my gallbladder in that cooler that you had under the ring, because by then it'll be empty, but just ice.
Yeah, he had to pull the cans out.
There you go. They'll be gone by then, so we'll be good. Are you here, folks? We're booking the territory right here on the show. You want to bring that to your town, get in touch.
I'm game.
Now, Gene, I want to plug mine and Tommy's stuff also, but I guess I need to plug some of yours too. I hear you've got a great new podcast coming out with a good friend of mine and Tommy's, Neil Taylor, right?
Yeah, we're doing that for EPW, where we're going to be, or I'll be interviewing different members of the EPW roster, talking about what's going on there with EPW, which, Doug, you've been there, and you're going to be coming back soon, and Tommy's going to be making his way there. So,
well, actually, me and Tommy will be working for them coming up in Jackson, Tennessee, September the 14th at a WrestleCon there and everything. But also, me and Tommy will be working for them in November, and the date is yet to be determined, but it's going to be a weekend in November. I think one's a signing day and want to be a wrestling night the following night. I think it'll be a Friday and Saturday, but I've discussed the dates with Neil and Tommy both, and we were looking at things, and we're going for sure get together in November, but for sure we will be at the West Tennessee Comic Con, Jackson, Tennessee, Sunday, September 14th. And me and Tommy will be signing during the day and wrestling that night.
That's great, man. I'm looking forward to that. And you guys got all kinds of stuff going on. So let's talk about, let's hit a few more of these dates, man. You guys, the Memphis Mafia is busy.
Well, man, that Tommy, like I said, we might want to go over his book first, and then I'll come up at the end.
We've only got an hour, though.
He's got some closer dates than I do. Tommy, you want to hit your dates?
Man, this weekend I'm going up to Georgia and see all them Georgia peaches, man. Somebody say something about fired up. We start out with Friday night, which folks won't know this, but I'll be in Dalton, Georgia at the Skateland Arena skating rink. Man, when I first went to Georgia, that's where they had the matches at, and it's been years, so I'm excited about that.
Where's that at? What town is that in, Tommy?
That's in Dalton, Georgia, and it's Saturday morning. I'm at the big flea market there doing a meet and greet, signing and everything, and then I go from there to Thomaston, Georgia for OSW, Old School Wrestling. They're having the Tommy Wildfire Rich Trophy Cup Series. And then Sunday, I'm going to be in Americus, Georgia, and doing a signing for a good friend of mine, Mark, and Carrie. And it's going to be from 2 to 7. And it's at the Fish House there on Jackson Street. pretty fired up about that. I mean, get go back to Georgia and get the 3 starting at one end of Georgia, right there by Chattanooga, going end up all the way on the south end. So it's like the old school days.
What about Tommy? You don't think you could get a couple of tickets for some guys for that Thomaston, Georgia, for that Tommy Rich Cup, do you?
Yeah.
You think you could?
Yeah, who needs them?
Well, I don't know. I'll have to. I'll try to get the names for you, and if you can get them a couple of tickets, there's some guys that really want to see you.
Well, I was going to fly Gene in, but I figured his arms would be too tired by the time he got here.
Well, I was fixing to say, or if he got there, he'd park 3 miles from the building and walk like he did at the airport.
I'm going to start walking from Gadsden right now, and I'll see you.
Right. And anyway, okay, y'all heard all Tommy's or a few of Tommy's dates and everything. Let's hit some stuff that me and Tommy are. Let's hit a thing or two that I'm on, and the rest of them, I think Tommy and myself, I think he's on about everything else with me. The first thing, September 3rd, the Coffee County Fair at Manchester, Tennessee. I will be there signing autographs. There's a meet and greet and a wrestling show that night in Manchester, Tennessee. That's September 3rd. September 10th, the Henderson County Fair of Lexington, Tennessee. The home of Dangerous Doug, Hot Stuff Eddie, and Tommy Gilbert, Lexington, Tennessee. The Henderson County Fair. Myself and Wildfire will be there in a Lexington street fight against 2 of the NWA Power champions. One of them, what I think he's Jeremiah Plunkett, the North American champion, I think.
Mid-America champion, old school Mid-America title.
Old school Mid-America champion, and I think Alex Taylor, and he the junior heavyweight champion, I think now or something.
That's it.
And everything. Me and Tommy will be against them, and they've talked about how they started the NWA, and I told them that, you know, legends like Harley Race, Tommy Rich, the Funks, the Briscoes started the NWA and everything. And so we're going to settle it here in Lexington on September 10th. Then September 12th, Tommy and myself will be in Ripley, Tennessee. September 13th, Tommy and myself will be in Dyersburg, Tennessee. There's a show in Dyersburg, show in Ripley also, but show in Dyersburg. And then they're putting, I think, some guys in the, what they call it, the Wall of Fame. It's like their Hall of Fame deal, but I think they're putting the Memphis Mafia in there, and me and Tommy are the only 2 guys left from the Memphis Mafia, but they're putting us all in there, and me and Tommy will get the plaques for that, and that'll be really cool. Then we'll wrestle that night. And then September 14th, like I said, me and Tommy will be at the West Tennessee Comic Con in Jackson, Tennessee at the Carl Perkins Civic Center, so that'll be real cool. And then come the following weekend, Tommy will be down here with me about all that week. And then the following weekend, we're supposed to be coming back, and I think Tommy told me September 19th. If something hasn't changed, it will be Corning, Arkansas. Then September 20th, during the day from 11 to 2, it'll be the Banana Festival in South Fulton, Kentucky. And then we leave straight from there and go to a Horror Fest in Paragould, Arkansas. And we do a signing at the Horror Fest at the Paragould, Arkansas Fairgrounds, and then we wrestle at the Paragould, Arkansas Fairgrounds that night, which is the 20th and everything. So we start out at Banana Fest in South Florida, Kentucky, 11 to 2 that day. Then we shoot over to Paragould and we sign till time for the matches, and then we wrestle at Paragould that night at the fairgrounds. And then we go to October 3rd. I've got a virtual meet and greet with Captain's Corner, and then October 4th, and I think Tommy actually might be on that deal with the 3rd with me. If not, he'll be here somewhere around Memphis. And October 4th, me and Tommy will be in Memphis, Tennessee at the Memphis Tigers on Tiger Lane there, and we should be wrestling there that afternoon right before the ball game, and then we'll do something, I think, at the half or something at the ball game, but it's called Memphis Wrestling Night, and they have it one time a year there every year. And me and Tommy's been there the last 3 years or so, right, Tommy?
Yes, sir.
And that's really a cool deal. I like it as far as,
that was a blast. Yeah.
I mean, I love the old school fans. They love sports and football too, and they really come out to watch the wrestling and go to the game. But I love sports too. I love, being around football and all the sports and everything. But man, we just have a blast there. Everybody's real nice, real respectful and everything. Like I said, we see so many old school fans at that deal, and it's just a real cool place to wrestle.
Yeah, man, that's right up your alley. You get to hang out with your wrestling buddies and watch a football game and be in Memphis. So, man, that's good stuff all the way around.
And like I said, we got a lot of stuff. Tommy's got a ton of stuff coming up. He's got some stuff for Wildfire Wrestling. And
oh, yeah, that's right. August, I'm going to skip back. Yeah, August the 22nd, we're going to be in Fredericksburg, Kentucky at the McMenifee Central High School. And then we're going to be at Prestonsburg, Kentucky. The Rock and Roll Express will be there. They got 2 big cage matches in Prestonsburg. Of course, I ain't been in one since 1983, the last battle of Atlanta. But I'm going to be in the one in Prestonsburg, Kentucky. So pretty fired up about that. Wildfire Championship Wrestling, it's doing good. We do have a lot of things going on.
Well, and Gene, Tommy correct me a lot, but I try not to ever correct him because he's my elder. So I try to say he's always right and correct and everything, but he said that last night and I didn't want to correct him, but tonight I will. He said he hadn't been in a cage match since, and if he remembers this, and the only way I probably wouldn't even think about it or remember it except what happened after the match that night that me and him had. Me and him was in a cage match in Memphis against Lawler and Dundee, I think it was, and we had to handcuff each other to the cage. And that night, what makes this so memorable to me was what happened after the matches that night. And actually, I think it was me and Tommy, and it could have been Buddy. I think it was Lawler, Bill, and Brian, and me and Tommy and somebody. But what happened after the match that night, which I can pull up and see who it was in it. But what happened after the match is why I remember this. We was in a cage match, and it was way after '83. It was in the '90s, and Jerry Lawler wound up running into a little trouble that night after the show, and it was called a Night in the Slammer or Night in the Cage or something like that, right? Well, he wound up going to the Cuscow that night, but the name of the show was like a Night in a Cage, and he wound up spending, he never gets in any trouble or anything, but he wound up going to jail for about 4 or 5 hours, and I couldn't believe it when people started calling me, and I thought, this is not right. So I called him the next day and I said, man, what's going on? He said, oh, nothing. Why? I said, well, something's going on. I said, people started calling me last night saying you was in jail. And he said, oh my gosh, Doug. He said, that was awful. And I said, well, what happened? Which he kind of got in a little domestic, he didn't touch nobody or nothing, but the police wound up getting called, and he got a ton of pull with the police, but when they can't get their story straight, they got to take usually both people to, in for a few hours. But I will never forget the name of that was one Night in a Cage or something. And then that night I started getting the call and said, what's going on with Lawler? And I said, what are you talking about? And they said, the news said he's been arrested. I said, for what? We just got out of the freaking cage match 2 hours ago, and here he's in behind bars. I told him, I said, that was a bad name of a show, wasn't it? One Night in the Cage or something.
Yeah, I've heard of Living the Gimmick, but that's too much.
Tommy, you remember that now, right?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, when you said handcuffing each other to the cage, I remembered. Yeah.
Yeah, and Tommy, he went to handcuff Tommy last, and Tommy's handcuff wouldn't handcuff. He handcuffed Tommy. Remember that, Tommy?
Yeah.
And the handcuff would come off of Tommy, so it was like he was trying to finish the match, and the people would go to pop, and Tommy's handcuff would pop off. So it was like a magic trick Tommy was doing. But
I just had him holding them all.
There you go. They thought Tommy had a key.
That last EPW show I did commentary on, they had Luke Gallows there, and they tried to handcuff him to the ropes during the match, and the same thing was happening, the handcuffs. So the manager had to sit there and just hold it on his wrist until they got everything done, and then he broke free. But yeah, those handcuffs can go awry sometimes in those situations. But Tommy mentioned Dalton, Georgia. I just want to mention, I got a good buddy I used to do stand-up comedy with, and he does some wrestling, named Bobby Slam. And he messaged me yesterday and said, I'm going to meet Tommy in Dalton, Georgia this weekend. He's one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, and I'm looking forward to meeting him. I said, all right, well, make sure you don't tell him you know me, or he probably won't sign anything for you.
Hey, Tommy, it seems like I remember working in Dalton a time or two. Did you do some, was Blackwell's stuff around there, or whose stuff was around Dalton?
I think maybe Jerry did run there. It was Dalton's about probably 20 miles from Chattanooga.
I was going to say, I think I worked for you once.
I think you probably have too. I think when we was doing Miss Kitty's and all of that, I think you might have.
Right.
Go down to Dalton.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It might have been that skating rink.
I was going to say, I think I worked for you a couple of times at Dalton, and I was thinking that had to be during that Jerry Blackwell period.
Yeah, that sounds right. I want to say I remember looking through those results, seeing like the skating rink in Dalton on a couple of them, if I'm not mistaken. So that's probably exactly right.
I'll tell you what's going to happen in Dalton, though. There's going to be some roller derby going on. I'm going to put them skates on San Francisco Bay Area Bombers. I used to love watching gals elbow and beat each other.
Well,
that's the only thing my daddy ever took me to that I really enjoyed.
I tell you what, if you start doing that, I sure hope we send some pads with you. You got some pads on your hips and back of your head.
It wouldn't take but one bump and I couldn't get up.
Yeah, I think so. We'd have to put a helmet on him, Gene, with them bicycle helmets and pads all on his hips and back and neck and everything else.
I was about to say, I think next week we're going to be announcing rescheduling of a bunch of those dates you just named off. You turn Tommy loose on roller skates. We might have to do some rescheduling here. So
and say, Tommy, that Dalton, it is just like 20 minutes from Chattanooga, right?
Yeah, it's just right outside of Chattanooga.
You gonna come on stay at Lookout Mountain that night?
I'm sorry?
You gonna come on stay at Lookout Mountain that night?
No, I'm gonna be staying. I'd love to go to Lookout Mountain, but I'm gonna be staying there because I got that big sign in the next day right there at the flea market, and they expect a big crowd for that too. I mean, Dalton got it going. It used to be a heck of a place, and it's been a long time since they had wrestling. I was there about 3 or 4 years ago and did a signing at flea market. It was just unreal.
I might come up there and hang out with you.
People come from everywhere to that flea market because where it's located, Tennessee, Georgia, it's accessible from a bunch of different places. And yeah, they have all kinds of people at that flea market. So yeah, it should do great.
I got you. I might swing by up there, Tommy.
Well, come on and swing by.
I swing by.
Oh, swing by. Who says that?
I don't know.
Kind of like John Anderson back in the day. Swinging.
There you go.
Well, this week.
Our good friend Goat, too, just a swinging.
Yeah.
So, guys, we've talked about everything from back in the 60s and 70s up through the 80s and the early 90s, but we really hadn't touched on. I've had a couple people message me to go, hey, I really haven't touched on the late 90s a whole lot. Let's talk a little bit about the end of the USWA, because that's been talked about a lot in a lot of different interviews and podcasts and everything. And it's, the whole Larry Burton situation, all that. From you guys' perspective, what was your take on all that? And how did you see all that going down?
You know what, Gene? What about we'll get to that, but what about if we start right here about 95?
Okay.
The last, to me, what I remember as far as the good run of territories, as far as this territory here, and I think this one was the last one left other than the big two. The last, I think, big run where it was on its feet was in 95, right? I mean, that's when we had was it the Monday Night Memories show that was in 95, I think, Gene, and then all the USWA against the Smoky Mountain stuff, that was 95, wasn't it?
Yeah, 94 into 95, and then late 95, Smoky Mountain goes under, and it all starts to kind of go downhill, like you're saying.
And after that,
95 was strong.
And see different people, and here's what you get into, and some people forget about this, but that's also right when the Monday Night Wars started, right?
Yes.
So as far as ratings go, you're trying to run Memphis like it had been run for umpteen years on Monday night. Well, you've got the big two promotions that's left, and every other territory is out of business at this point except Memphis, right?
Right.
And you've got, and we didn't try to change anything. We kept Memphis on Monday night, Louisville on Tuesday night, Evansville on Wednesday night, Spot Show on Thursday night, Spot Show around Memphis on Friday night, TV Saturday morning, Nashville Saturday night. But what I'm saying is, still in 95, we put together angles that drew money, and me and Tommy was there at the end of that and everything, and man, that was just so cool. I watched some clips the other day of it showed in '95, Tommy, where they had to reopen the top of the Mid-South Coliseum, where before they'd just been, and I think they helped them out on the rent with it, where they would just use the risers and the ring side, and they wouldn't open the top. When '95, they started having to open the top back up because the risers and the ring side was full. So that really, I was looking at that, Gene, and that's really cool to think. Now, everybody else is out of business as far as territorial, except this territory here in Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, Mississippi, and everything. But USWA is still in business, holding its own, and it hits a good patch there where I knew it drew well, but it was saying that the Mid-South Coliseum was drawn well enough that they was having to open back up the top of it to get people in. Nashville was doing, really well at the time. Louisville was doing better than it had done in years at the time. And they said even Evansville, and I popped at this, said Evansville, it didn't say was you had to open up the top, but said it was drawing a little better. Now, being Tommy, I laugh at that, and it probably was drawing a few more people, but just Evansville was one of those towns that had got really hard. Even when everything else was good, Evansville might be up 30 people or 40 people, but if everything else up was up 2,000 people, Evansville just wouldn't jump like that. But that's what I remember about '95. Tommy, you remember that? Being like that. I was looking at some stuff the other day, and man, it looked like we had some great houses, which I remember the run that we had there. And like me and you had a couple different good runs together here in this territory. For like a year and a half, at a time there and everything. And man, that was good business during then, wasn't it?
Oh, and just like they said, USWA. It was the last, really the last as far as the territory. You had the big companies running, but USWA was the last one to fold, and we did good. Hell, we were making money. The houses wasn't nobody losing. Wasn't nobody getting rich, but wasn't nobody losing no money as far as the office and the boys. Everybody was making a bug and happy.
And that's the thing, Jen. I'm glad Tommy said that, Gene. Happy. All of us. Tommy was on a guarantee. I was on a guarantee. There was 5 or 6 of us out of a 16 or 18 man crew that was on guarantees, and we really wanted to draw, or those guarantees wouldn't have stayed long. And knock on wood, we all busted our tail. We worked together. We got along well together and everything. But that's what I remember about '94, '95. And everything. Then when you get on to what you're talking about, what you started out with was about the Lawler, Jarrett. Jarrett sold his half to Lawler. Then Lawler had all of it. Then he sold it to Mark Selker and Larry Burton. Both of them had looked at everything, which Larry Burton was the one that come first. But then Mark Selker's company, I forget what it was called, and you probably know, it was in Ohio, but he had backers that helped him buy half, and Burton bought half and everything. But during those times, I don't think Tommy ever come back during the time when Larry Burton and Mark Selker bought each other.
Y'all said that.
Now I did, Gene, but this was during the time when I was going to Japan still real heavy at that time.
Yeah.
And he would want me, and like I was supposed to, this was a funny thing about Larry was I was booked on some shows up north, and he said, "No, Doug, you're booked in Nashville." And I said, "Larry, they pay me really good money to go up north for a weekend." I said, "I can't just stay and make Nashville." But actually, to be honest, those guys was paying everybody more money than they had made working here. They had never been on guarantees like me and Tommy was, but they was paying them more money than they was used to get paid. But they wasn't paying them what I would get paid for going up north. So I told him, I said, "I got to go, Larry." I said, "It's a 2-day deal, Friday and Saturday." So he said, "Well, I'll tell you what I'll do, but don't you tell anybody else. I'll give you $750. You make Nashville, and then I'm going to get you a signing on Sunday, and I'll pay you." And what the signing basically was, me just to go to Ruth Chris with him on a Sunday. It wasn't a signing. It was go to dinner with him and then pay me like $300 or $400. But so that was basically about my money that I was going to get for going up north, close to it, but me not having to go and him paying for my hotel in Nashville. well, right here's what I did, and this is what got him hot with me. I shouldn't have done this, but so instead of him giving me cash that he could have given me at the gate, and the gate was good in Nashville that night, he wrote me a check. So what do you think I done with that check for $750? I took it to the box office and I signed the back of it. And so the people at the gate seen that he wrote, and on the bottom of the check, he wrote for the date, the one night in Nashville. I don't know why he done that for. That's what I told him. Oh, he got hot at me. He called me after the show because he was looking at the, looking at the money and the stuff. And I took him straight that check, and they give me the $750. And he said, "You redneck." And I started laughing because he said that when me and Brian were messing with him. He said, "What the hell did you do this for?" He said, "Why didn't you take that to your own bank?" I said, "Well, I just wanted to make sure it was good." And all that really got him hot. And I said, "Well, we still got this deal for tomorrow." And I thought the worst case scenario, he can cancel the deal tomorrow. But all it was, I was going to eat with him, and he's going to pay me like $400 to cover that other day that I was going to be up north. But the whole deal, I'd rather be home and rather work in Nashville than I had to go to Philadelphia and up around there. So to me, it was a kind of a win-win deal. But he was a funny guy. But like I said, he'd get hot at me and Brian just at a drop of a hat, and I'd laugh. He's the guy, Gene, that we was playing golf with one time. He was Lawler's partner. Me and Brian was partners playing against him, and he was calling me and Brian redneck this and that. And all of a sudden, Brian said, "I'm fixing to run over him." I said, "You're going to do what?" And Brian took off and nailed that golf cart, and he was nowhere near his and Lawler's golf cart. And I thought, and I was pretty sure when Brian got right to him, because we was going as fast as his golf cart would go, that he would swerve or something, miss him. And he didn't. He hit him. He hit him wide open on that golf cart and knocked him over the side, and he just flew like a flip. And when he got up, he could barely walk, and he was hollering, "You effing redneck, you effing redneck." He walked all the way from like the fourth hole straight across the other holes to his car and left. And Lawler was looking at Brian and me. He said, "Why?" He asked Brian, he said, "Why did you do that for him?" Brian said, "Hell, he kept calling us rednecks, so I just run over him." And just freaking hurt him. I don't say I didn't break his legs. But Ryan didn't really care. So, but to me, it was kind of funny. I hated to laugh, but you don't want nobody to be hurt or nothing either. Yeah. But like I said, but hell, he carried me and Brian to dinner 50 times after that. So I guess he was a glutton for punishment. But he was always really nice to me. Now, bless his heart, he was one of the shadiest fellas that you probably had ever met in your life. And I'm not sure I don't think like mafia type ties he had, but like California movie, like the shady stuff. He knew he would call like movie star people and put them on the phone with us. And he knew all the actor, people that I wouldn't have thought he would know. He knew everybody in the movie business.
And they said he had 1,000 aliases too.
Well, he did, and the FBI had about 6 of his aliases that they looked for and found and everything. And that's it. Still, see, when they called Lawler and told Lawler that he was dead, it wasn't his wife. It was like I don't want to say the FBI and be wrong, but it was one of the police people. And I asked Lawler, I said, "Well, are you sure he's dead?" And Lawler said, "No, I'm not sure, but I did talk to his wife, and she said he was." And I thought, this might be another. So, but that bless his heart, he was always real nice to me, and I'm not knocking him or nothing, but that's the kind of you just could never tell what. He wasn't a person that you could read. But I'm gonna tell you this: he had a ticket agent for one of the top 2 airlines right now, and he would tell me just to call him, and if wherever I need a ticket to that month, just call them and give them the dates, and my tickets would be took care of. And like 2 of the dates that month was to Japan, and it was first class tickets. And I wound up telling the office, "Don't even get my tickets." And I asked him, I said, "Larry, how is this? What do I owe?" He said, "You don't owe nothing. Just call and give them your dates and where you need tickets to." And I thought, now how's this going to wind up coming back on me? What am I going to have to do for this? But that's just, he was really cool to me. He was, he was a different type character.
Yeah, a lot of different people have a lot of different opinions of him, and there's all kinds of different stories. And the people that he felt could do something for him, guys like you and Lawler, and he was really good to. And then some of the people who he didn't think could do anything for him, there's some horror stories about that guy.
Yeah, you know what he said, though? This is one of the funny things, Tommy. He called me and said, "You need to come to this meeting." I said, "Well, what kind of meeting is it?" And he wanted me to drive to Memphis. And he said, "I'm having all the boys there." And he said, "And, they listen to you." He said, "It'll look good if you're there. You need to come." He said, "I'm going to pay you. You just come and I'll pay you and take care of you." And I said, "Well, okay, Larry." So I go to the meeting, and there's, the guys are there, and the new owner, like that Mark Selker's there with him and everything. And he gets up there, and he said, and he's got a little mic, and we're in a little conference room, and he's got a mic he's talking on, and I'm sitting back there smiling, thinking, boy, this is something here. And he said, "Well, we wanted to get together the new ownership, and we wanted to introduce y'all guys to the new booker, and we've got him back here in a room, and we're fixing to call him out. Y'all probably know him. His name is Dutch MANTRELL." And I did just like Gene did. I started laughing. I'm in the back of the room, and one of the guys said, "What are you laughing at?" I said, "Do y'all know who Dutch MANTRELL is?" And they didn't even know what Dutch MANTRELL. He called him Dutch MANTRELL. I thought, none of these guys even know not iota about the wrestling business. I mean, like I said, Larry knew about Hollywood and about movies and stuff, but as far as knowing anything, but what they thought, Dan, where they thought they was going to make a fortune, and I think it could have been made, was through the, all of the
syndication of the TV?
Syndication part and the merchandise. Larry said that's where they would make millions, and he told that Mark Selker that. And I think Larry actually thought it, but there had to be a way to make money back then with that, Gene. And Jarrett he just got it on all the syndication, but he didn't ever really make. That's the only thing I knew that I didn't ever understand why he wanted it on everywhere. I think so it would look bigger than what it was, but then you didn't ever run any of that, so you couldn't make any revenue off of it. And he was such a smart guy. Tommy, have you ever thought about that? Why he done that for is just to make us look bigger, I think.
Because that and I mean, you don't think he made nothing off of it though? I mean,
well,
time you don't think he? What? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I ain't never Jerry never did nothing he didn't make no money on. But I understand what you're saying because it made you nationwide, and that was a lot of him too. I mean, he liked that part of it too. I can't imagine him not making no money. I mean, he might not have made much, but I can't imagine him not doing it, not making a buck.
Well, and that's me too. I've never understood that, but I've always heard people say that. But anyway, I mean, because he had it on in Chicago. I mean, one of the biggest, as far as stations in Chicago. He had it on in New York. It was on in Baltimore. But cities that, and I thought, Tommy, and they said they got real good numbers up there. And that's what kind of shocked me, that the way he was about making money, that you might not have could have went into those like once or twice a year and did some business.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know,
But then again, when you know what you know, and you're like you said, all of us was happy in '95, and he knew what he could make in all these towns, so it wasn't like taking a risk going to say Chicago or New York or Charlotte. Like his TV was on in Charlotte also. Gene, if you look, there's like 60 different markets that syndication was on. And everything. But see, that's what that Larry Burton and Mark Selker, what Larry sold that Mark on, was the syndication and the merchandise. He said that the merchandising had never been done right, which the only thing he didn't know was, the pictures and everything. If he had any iota of how many dollars worth of revenue in pictures was sold here, and that was merchandise. But what he was talking about was T-shirts and the long game, the T-shirts, everything else with the merchandise that had come along and everything. But during those years, it was like I said, Tommy didn't actually. I didn't think he'd come back and work for him, but it was a different type ball game. And they would ask me questions, Gene, like that Mark and his buddies. He had like 4 different buddies. And, the only thing I wanted to do was I didn't want to rain on nobody's parade. They would ask me, and I would try to answer them as honest as I could without telling them, that. And I ain't saying I didn't want to tell them nothing. I'd like to tell them the way I thought things could work, but I didn't want to get in the middle of that selling part of it and everything, because I knew something would wind up, breaking apart with Larry and that Mark at some point. But I never had a problem with them, Gene. They always paid me, and they paid me good. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So I couldn't have a problem with Matt. Larry, like I said, he was a funny guy. He was just different and everything. But I wish Tommy would have come in, and me and him would have been right there.
I think I met that Larry Burton about 2 times, and it was just in passing. Yeah, like when USWA finished up, that's about when I finished up and left. And that was in 95. So I worked independent, and then about 97 or something, 96, I think, is when I went up to ECW. So I wasn't never in that, but yeah, it's. I mean, I heard he took care of the guys that he took care of. I mean, there was some not happy. Of course, you always got some not happy, no matter where you at.
Yeah. To your point earlier, 94, 95 was a really good year for USWA. And in September of 95, that's when WCW Monday Nitro went on the air, and they started going head-to-head with Raw. And now, all of a sudden, you guys running Monday night shows at the Mid-South Coliseum has got to compete against 5 hours of free programming.
Free wrestling.
Don't have to get in the car.
Don't have to get in the car.
Don't have to pay for parking. Don't have to buy a ticket.
Look, big screen TVs, sit at home, all the kids, no tickets. I mean, if you got a family, you got a husband, wife, 3 kids, so you got to buy 5 tickets. Well, you can sit at home, and you got your choice of the two big wrestling at that time, big companies that you can choose to watch either one of them, and we're going up against them, trying to sell tickets at the Coliseum. And actually, like I said, in 94 and 95, we done better than we was the last territory left that on legs that was running, and we was doing good. And like I said, I wish I could show Tommy. Gene, me and you can get that picture that I saw in the story that I was reading. Have you seen the deal I was talking about, Gene? Have you got it on anything? It shows the Coliseum, but it shows Tommy like in 95. They're shooting from the upstairs down. It shows the whole bottom being full, the risers.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I do remember that.
And but anyway, I saw a thing the other day on Gene. You can look and find it. I'll find it. And but man, it started making me think back about those times in '95 and everything. And man, it made me real proud to be a part of that. And like me and Tommy talked about, it's cool to be a part of those last angles that really helped draw money at the Mid-South Coliseum and in Memphis.
And so with, you guys being the last promotion standing, but then, like you said, Monday nights being taken over by WWF and WCW. And by the time we get into 96, you just really can't fight that.
Gene, do you think, and then Tommy, same question for you. Gene, Tommy, do y'all think, or had the history been so long at the Mid-South Coliseum, do you think we could have changed Memphis to like a Friday night or something? Do you think it could have done good for any longer?
They tried it on I think it was Wednesday night, or was it Tuesday night? They switched to another night for a little bit during that era.
I thought we'd done it on. I thought it was Wednesday when they had a problem with the Evansville Coliseum, but I thought that was just for a little stretch, wasn't it?
It wasn't long, but the crowd didn't go up. Like it didn't. They had pretty much decided like, well, this is killing us on Monday night, right. And then they switched to Wednesday because of the Evansville issue, but the crowds didn't really go up. So they're like, all right, well, it's not just the night of the week at this point.
And I think, I think a lot of that, and I think a lot of that, and a lot of the reason of that is because Memphis wrestling, it just stands out on its own. It's like it's like when you take your family to a movie. I mean, you have movie night. You know, most people go to movies, take their family on a Saturday night. They go see whatever movie. And I think the folks in Memphis, because it was such, I mean, it's, it created some of the greatest angles. Plus, they were so personable too. You know, the angles always meant something. It wasn't no crazy. I mean, it got wild sometimes, but it was all personable stuff that people related to. And I mean, you'd see, you know, it'd be the kids, their mom and dad, and their mom and dad. You know, I mean, it was a family show, and I think that's the reason it lasted so long. I mean, after other territories went down, I just think the atmosphere of that Memphis Coliseum, and it was a Monday night, wasn't nothing to do, you know, and so everybody just turned out on Monday nights. I mean, I don't know. You might could have done it on Saturday night. It might have done better, but Wednesday night, that's the best night in the world.
Well, yeah, but the only thing, Tommy, you couldn't really done it on Saturday because we still had the fairgrounds in Nashville that you know, everybody, like you're saying, in Memphis knew Monday night, but in Nashville, Saturday night was the night for wrestling.
Yeah,
Nashville. So you couldn't have done it on Saturday, but that's why I said I wanted Friday if you know. But then again, it just might have been that time where wasn't nothing. No night might not have worked. But I was just asking you and Gene, what did y'all think there would have been a night that we could have kept, and you know, not went against WWF and WCW and still had our own deal that might have lasted a little.
Friday night might have been a good night. I mean, you never know. I just know Wednesday night wasn't a good night.
Right. And then what I'm saying is if you done it Friday night and went straight into TV Saturday morning and said last night, and you had the clips of what happened last night, and you had the good angles, and then you could have plugged, you know, this coming up Friday where we'd always hit Monday, you could have hit this coming up Friday, and you know, I mean, it's just something I was going to ask y'all to and see what y'all thought.
I'd say, like Tommy said, I agree. I think it's a lot better than Wednesday, and I think a lot of it too was just most of those people in their entire lifetime, it had always been Monday night wrestling.
Right.
Monday night wrestling. It was just driven into them. You know, you didn't really think about Memphis wrestling on another night besides Monday.
And see, that was my point. I was going to say, did y'all think any of that? But to me, I will never know anything but Monday night in Memphis. But what I'm saying is at the end, if either one of y'all thought that there was a night that would have worked. I mean, history is going to say to me, Monday night was a Mid-South Coliseum. That's what I grew up on.
And the only problems was like a Friday or Saturday night. That's when the Memphis Coliseum was hot too, and they'd have concerts or they'd be different things. So you couldn't really be set in on every Friday night or every Saturday night, either one. I mean, because that's when they had their big shindigs. And of course, Sunday, you know, they do some Sunday shows. I don't know. I'm kind of, you know, I just feel like Monday night. I mean, it was like that forever. So I just think, you know, I don't know.
You think it was just
night would have worked or not? I mean, if you had a Friday night, like you said, you could lead in that TV on what happened. I mean, that might have been a good night, and why they didn't try a Monday night, I mean, a Friday night instead of a Wednesday night, just a Wednesday night. I mean, you know, that big church night, and, you know, I mean, you know, I mean, who knows? I mean, in hindsight, we can sit here and guess.
The Coliseum might have had higher rent on that night too.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't know the circumstances.
Well, Jerry had paid them so much money over the years. I didn't know him but one time to ever have a little quarrel over the rent, and they went to the Pipkin building then but they always pretty much, he paid them a ton of money, Gene, but I mean, he made a ton of money running that Mid-South Coliseum, but he paid for that building over the years. I mean, he was the only one that went every week. There was not another person that went every week to the Mid-South Coliseum, but us.
And that's another thing. I mean, even when we went to another building, you know, it didn't draw like the Memphis Coliseum. You know, yeah. I mean,
No, there was no building that people related to with wrestling like they did Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis. I mean, there was no other building. Like I said, we went right across the parking lot to the Pipkin building, and it drew fair, but it never, you know, it just wasn't the Coliseum.
Yeah, and something else to kind of consider too is like around that time in '96 when things started kind of taking a nosedive. You was talking about how the angles in Memphis had always been kind of reality driven and personal, and I mean they were doing silly shit like they had the Nation of Domination. I mean I know Wolfie and Jamie was doing the Nation of Domination in the WWF, but then they were doing it in Memphis, and you had Randy Hales out there as Randy X, Tracy Smothers as Shaquille Ali, and Reggie B. It was funny, but it's funny. It don't make me want to go buy a ticket to see the guys get beat up. It's just silly. There wasn't, you can't name any like real hot angles compared to the stuff you guys did during that time frame.
They was just trying to entertain. They was kind of doing WWF TV in Memphis is what they was doing at that time, but it wasn't funny. In Memphis has never drawn money. I mean, you can't tell me, and maybe Tommy can, but I don't ever know anything. I mean, we like some stuff to be funny at times, but just little stuff that we didn't expect to draw money. But as far as drawing money, like Tommy said, it was serious, personal. It was things that you related to that, that everyone could relate to, and they knew, what we was saying, and they thought it was the truth. And they thought, well, these guys, we know old Tommy and Doug don't like these two guys because we can tell they ain't nothing like them, and we just know they don't like them. People would tell me and Tommy on the road, they said, man, we come because we know y'all really don't like them. And they say, no, we don't like them. And half time would be kind of halfway ribbon on the square, or half time shooting at times. But anyway, we done business with a lot of people. We didn't necessarily have to like a lot of people that we worked with. Now, we did like some of them, Gene, a lot of them, and some of them, they wasn't our best buddies or nothing, but we still worked hard with them, and we drew money with them.
I mean, and that's like Jamie and Wolfie. You tell somebody you want to work with them too, I mean, standing there with a hubcap over their stuff. I mean, they love to say, y'all crazy. But we drawed money with them and made good money. I mean, Randy Hales was a believer in Jamie and Wolfie in the PG-13, and it did get over it. But it was a personal, it was a personal angle that the people related to. They knew Jamie since he was a kid. I mean, and so just, I mean, I don't know, just the angles that was done in Memphis just are,
and see, Gene, also they knew that Tommy was younger than Bill, and he kind of grew up around Bill, so he knew Jamie. They knew me and Jamie had kind of grown up together as far as we was right at the same age, and he'd been around wrestling with his dad, and I'd been around wrestling with my dad. So what Tommy's saying as far as personal stuff, I mean, we said stuff. I told Tommy, I watched an interview the other day. This guy showed it to me, one of our friends did, and I freaking was just shaking my head. He loved it. He said, this is great. Listen to this, Doug. And Tommy was talking about how ugly Wolfie D's mama was, and something about her not having no teeth, and it had me at the end of it. I just started laughing, but I thought but when Tommy got done, he gave me the mic for a minute, and I talked a little bit. Then he talked, but I talked about how ugly Beverly was, Jamie's mama, and I told him he looked just like her. But anything you could say bad for about 4 minutes, me and Tommy said it. Then all of a sudden they come out of the back like when we wasn't looking and jumped on both of us, but we just started brawling. Me and Tommy never went down or nothing. We just stayed up and we brawled until all the baby faces come out and did like a pull apart, but they stayed with them, and then me and Tommy would go back and jump on them. But I think that's what made the people believe in them, because me and Tommy beat on. I mean, we actually did beat on them. I mean, we didn't try to hurt them or nothing, but I mean, everything that we done was very solid, and I think that made the people kind of believe in them. And me and Tommy did beat in a match. We'd go 20 or 30 minutes. We beat on them 20 minutes. I mean, wouldn't we, Tommy? To me, that's why I think the people wound up believing them. They thought, well, shit, they're getting a fire kicked out of them, and then me and Tommy would. The
people love that too. They love the underdog, and they was underdogs between me and Dougie against them. I mean, they was underdogs, and I think just starting with Jarrett selling for Tojo, me selling for Tojo. I mean, that's another culture the Memphis territory was. I mean, you look it up in New York, them guys back then, they wouldn't nobody take a bump. They just beat the daylights out of each other standing up, and these guys was taking bumps and we was beating them up. And it was, but it was believable because if they'd have bounced us around the whole match, then the people wouldn't believe it.
No.
But they was buying what we were selling. I mean, and that's the great things about the fans. Well, all the wrestling fans from back in the day, but Memphis, it was a special place.
And Gene, you got to realize a lot of this time, me and Tommy didn't have a manager. What if we'd had a manager? Now, Wolfie and Jamie had a manager about this whole time. His name was Randy Hales. And now you heard some of them promos. Old Randy come out there and cut some promos and told me and Tommy which way we was fixing to go, and we wasn't going to do anything else. Tommy telling me it was his boys. Ain't that what you tell him, Tommy?
Yeah.
Hey, Tommy get him mad, Gene. Can you imagine if you'd been there what do you think Randy said when Tommy said it was his boys?
It ain't my boys, Tommy. I'm shut up. Quit talking about their mama out here. All right, let's talk about your mama. How you like that?
Hey, Tommy said everything on this promo. I gotta get this promo on get you to play it on here. You will love it. I popped when Tommy started. I thought, shoot, I don't even remember this promo. I thought I love it. And then when he just stopped and he told me to say something, then I started, and I thought, dang, we must have this. Me and him must talk about this because it was so much alike as far as, it was different what I was saying about Jamie's mom, but it was still on the same pattern of what he was talking about. I thought, dang, we must have said something to one another about this because he went about 2 minutes just knocking everything about Wolfie's family and his life and how big a sissy he was, and he wasn't an athlete. He never played no sports, and just everything. And then right when he got through, he said, "Doug, tell him." And then when I started on Jamie, it was just about 2 minutes about how silly his family was and his mom was and he was, and that they wasn't on the level we was, and we didn't even know why we was having to wrestle them and everything. But I think the stuff like that, people said, this stuff's true. They can't say that out here. Because it would really hurt somebody's feelings and everything. But like I said, it was so personal. And then when they come out and jumped on scene, most people would have went to the floor or something. Me or Tommy, neither one went nothing. We just started fighting them back, and all of a sudden, all the babyface locker room come out and pulled them apart. Well, when they pulled them apart, me and Tommy stood there about 2 seconds, and we went and jumped on all, and we was hitting everybody, every one of the baby faces, and Jamie and Wolfie both. And Randy Hales wound up coming out saying, if y'all two don't get out of here, you're fired. And that's why me and Tommy left for.
But that's relatable, because people are like, I know how I'd be if they talked about my mama like that. Plus, the two mothers had been seen on TV enough; they feel like they kind of know them too. So,
but the kicker part about it, why people believe it, we go back and Jamie and Wolfie. I got tickled with Wolfie. He come back and say, "Tommy, you have to say all that." I'd pop. I thought, shit, hell, it hurt his feelings. So people gonna believe it.
Oh, we could get him in the car. I'd have it Wolfie D cry. I hope you boy.
Hey, Gene, and he's not telling a story. I'd have to hit him over Wolfie being in the back. I'd have to hit Tommy, and I'd say, or Wolfie get out, and I'd say, leave him alone. I said, he's gonna cry all the way to Nashville. Just please leave him alone for me. And everything. But then again, after he made him and Tommy, I got tickled. Now they had some good stories together, though. I laughed. They was some funny stuff, Gene. When I would go away from them for a night and leave them together, you talking about some of the funniest stuff that I ever seen happen to anybody happen. Wolfie's woman at the time kind of run the household, and she kicked him out of the house when I left them out of his house. I didn't know nothing was going wrong, but she kicked them out. Well, here him and Tommy got their bag.
Kicked Wolfie out. We had to sneak out with a cooler through the doggone woods. We snuck out. I thought, what the heck?
Listen to this, Gene. Tell him, Tommy, what happened.
I don't know what the deal was, but anyway, I ended up with Wolfie somehow. It was going over to his house, and we got there, and I don't remember if his girl come in or what the deal. She called and told him he better not be there or something.
Yeah.
And I asked him what was going on. He said, "Oh God, we got to get out of here." So anyway, we came in the front door, we went out the back door, and I don't even remember who picked us up. I mean, we snuck out like thieves in the night, man. I mean, I ain't never seen nobody scared of nobody like he was that woman.
Gene, they walked through the woods with a wrestling bag and a beer cooler and over to it like a little bar type restaurant deal.
Yeah.
And waited on a ride. But now listen, that's Tommy's story with Wolfie. So one night Tommy goes somewhere and I go with Jamie. Well, we're going to his house, so I think we're all right. Right? He lives in Kentucky. He's married. He's got a kid and everything. So I think he's, at home he'll be calm and everything, right? Well, we get there that night and I met his wife and said hello and everything. And it's like 11 or something. We get there, so we're still up about 2 or 3, and we drank a few beers and stuff. All of a sudden, about 3 or 4, she comes in there and says something to him. Well, he gets smart. The next thing I know, he says, "Watch this." And he goes, and she's sitting down, and he grabs a pitcher out of the refrigerator, and it's got like Kool-Aid in it. Yeah. And he goes and dumps that pitcher on her head. Well, when he does that, she gets up, and she's a lot taller than he is, and bigger than him. And she gets up, and they about go to fighting and pushing. And I said, "Jamie," and I'm thinking, here I'm in this little Kentucky country town, me and him both fixed to go. I said, "I'm going." So here he comes out the door behind me. So we get in the car, and I said, "Jamie, she's going to call him." I'm thinking she's going to call the police. They're going to stop me. We're in a Lincoln blacked out windows and everything in my car. So he said, "No, I got a place for us to go." I said, "Okay." So we pull in this driveway. I said, "Whose house is this?" He said, "Her brother's." I said, "Her brother's?" I said, "Well, are they going to say something to you?" He said, "No, they're cool." We walk in her brother's, Gene, and we sit down. Well, I see a car go by. And I said, another car go by. Well, I'm sitting in the living room. They're kind of sitting in the kitchen. And when I walked in, one of them pulled his glasses down like this and looks at me. And I thought, well, what's this guy doing? Well, these guys are stone cold wrestling fans, and they believe every freaking thing that happens on TV. Well, I hear this guy is one of Jamie's 3 brother-in-laws said, "Is that Doug Gilbert?" And Jamie said, "Yeah." And he said, "Doug, tell him, hey." I said, "Hey." And I just walked right through the room. The dude just looks at me like he's really freaking hot at me, right? He watches me and Tommy beat him up on a Saturday. And I'm thinking, here these guys. So I look out the window one time when I see a car go by and it's got blue lights on top of it. And I said, "Jamie." So he comes in the room I'm in, the TV's on. I said, "Man, the cops just come by." I said, "Would there be any reason you think your wife's called the law?" He said, "Oh, no, the cops watch these guys all the time." He said, "They're the most wanted guys in town." And I thought, oh, my God, not only am I up here and his wife's going to get us arrested, but his damn 3 brother-in-laws are the most wanted 3 guys in this little city. I said, "Jamie, we got to get out of here." And so we did. But like I said, me and Tommy we had some great times. I had great times with Jamie and Wolfie both, and Tommy did too. But we had some times that we go back and shake our head on now.
If anybody questions either one of those stories, the story that Tommy told, Wolfie has told me that story himself, and verbatim, it's exactly the way Tommy told it.
You talking about funny? You talking about when Tommy told me that he told me Wolfie never said that, and Tommy told me that, you talking about laughing? I went to Wolfie and I said, "Damn, I'm glad I didn't have to sneak out the back door with you." And he said, he was kind of embarrassed, but
I was flabbergasted.
Tommy.
I was flabbergasted.
Yeah,
never in my life, a grown ass man had to sneak out.
But I mean, and here's the thing: Wolfie always respected Tommy, and which we all did. And Tommy's just a little bit older than us, but we all respected Tommy so much and everything. But Wolfie really, I think, embarrassed him a little bit that he had to tell Tommy, "We got to go," and here they go. But what tickled me, Jim, was I'd love to have this on film. Them two with their wrestling bags and a cooler, and Wolfie told me they'd walk so far, then they'd set them down, and I think they drank a beer.
Yeah. He said at one point they set the cooler down, got a beer out. They each set on one end of the cooler.
But I think Wolfie had his wrestling bag plus another bag with his clothes in it too. So she's gonna burn them or something.
Hey,
we were packed down like a moving truck.
Hey, Tommy told me after that, when he got back to me, he said, "Don't never leave me with him again." I had to go do something. The only reason Tommy went with him, but I told him, I said, "Y'all have a good time," but I didn't know nothing in the personal life wasn't going at the best at the time, so I thought they'd have a big time. But when they told me about walking down that trail, I popped. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it was a trail. I mean, it wasn't no sidewalk we was on. It was a trail toting all our
stuff. Now, Gene, Wolfie didn't tell you anymore. I know you can't say too many stories, but he didn't tell you no other good story about him and Tommy or anything you can tell us.
No, that was the main story with Tommy that I heard. Tommy, you like you'd end up with a blister on your foot walking that far through the woods carrying all that.
No, I made him carry me piggyback. I didn't walk too far. You should have seen him carrying the cooler and everything in me.
Well, so we're about out of time, so I guess to kind of put a bow on that story, as things were kind of
live PG-13. We love you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get all you guys together on here sometime and hash all that out. I can tell their story.
Hey! Now that'd be great. You talking about some stories that we could tell? Because I guarantee if they got on here, there are a lot more stories that I could tell. It's funny that you don't think. Oh, I'd have them two into it, wouldn't we, Tommy?
Oh, more.
Yeah, I wouldn't take a whole lot, I'm sure, but
ooh, I got some Randy Hale stories with them two that you knock your socks off.
No, statute of limitations, Tommy. Don't you?
Oh, hey, I better not be telling none of them.
Don't you tell. I made good with the Lord. All right, just leave it alone. We may wrap up the Larry Burton thing. There's a couple more things to add to that, but we're about out of time here. But basically, do you get the feeling that as we got into 96 and like say, Monday nights weren't what they once were, this Larry Burton and Selker comes along and Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler see the opportunity like, hey, it might be time to get out while we can still make some money on this thing.
Yeah. Do you not think, and this is one of the things that the Kings told me a lot of times, he said, everybody says that, Jerry Jarrett made me a millionaire. He said, and Jerry Jarrett made me a whole lot of money over a lot of years, Doug. He said, but the first time that I ever actually had way over $1 million at one time. And I said, when's that? He said, when I sold the territory and everything. But I mean, he was never hurting for money. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But the first time that he had probably, right at $2 million or more than that in the bank was when he sold when he bought the territory from Jarrett. And he gave Jarrett, I think it was $200,000 for his half. And then he had all of it. Right. Mm-hmm. And then when he sold all of it, I think it was for $2.something million.
Wow.
So,
and then those guys were out of business within less than a year?
9 months. 9 months, I think. Yeah.
My favorite story, I'm sure you've heard this, but he sells it to them, and these guys don't know anything about running a wrestling company. 9 months later, USWA is out of business, and they try to sue Lawler. And they get in court, and they're trying to sue him because they're like, we thought this business was worth all this money, and then we buy it, and now it's not. And they said Lawler got on the stand and said, look, when I sold him the company, it was worth that. He said, if I sell you a car and then you go out and crash the car because you don't know how to drive, can you sue the guy that sold it to you? Because that's the same thing. And they said the judge was like, good point, and ruled in Lawler's favor. And it wasn't, you're not responsible to make sure somebody knows how to run a business before you sell it to them, right? Somebody shows up wanting to buy it, it's on them to run it after that.
And Gene, these guys knew absolutely nothing about the wrestling business. And I'm not knocking them or nothing. Like I said, that they was nice to me. All of them was nice to me, but they knew nothing about the wrestling business. Look, you'd have like 5 or 6 guys at spot shows with headsets on and little walkie-talkies wandering around the building talking to each other. I saw that and I thought, this is, I never said nothing I just smile, and if they asked me a question, I would answer them. But I thought, how long is this going to last? And
yeah,
everything. Like I said, I had Japan really well during that time. So when I would come back from Japan, I'd work, and that Larry would call me, and I'd work for him. Like I said, he paid me good, so I couldn't say anything. I wanted to do good. I wanted all the guys was making more than they'd made, and everything. So I was wanting everybody to keep making money. I was just hoping they would turn it around, and I was hoping they'd hire somebody that knew how to book and how to make it draw, but they didn't. But like I said, the funny thing was when he introduced, and I think it was that Mark Selker that introduced, said, "We've got a new booker, and his name is Dutch MANTRELL." I thought, you don't even know what the guy's name is.
You're like, it's over with.
Yeah, I thought, and I mean, and Dutch was one of the guys, he had a good mind for ideas and different things and stuff, but I thought, y'all don't even know the guy's name who you're hiring.
And I hear they had big ideas about, because I know Burt Prentice had said for years, if once they got all that syndicated TV, if they could have went in each market the way Burt used to do for his TV and sell ads to all those different markets, they could have made a killing on advertising.
Well,
but Jerry Jarrett never bothered to do that. And these guys, they let the wrestling end die. They got kicked off TV5. Now they didn't have a wrestling show to send out. Well, it don't matter if you have all these syndicated TV stations if you don't have a product to send them.
If you don't have a TV, it don't help. But that's why I was saying, that's where Larry had sold that Mark Selker and his company guys on, look, this is what we make. And they sat down and they figured that up on paper. And Gene, that was great money. I mean, you could have paid the boys good like they was doing. You could have had that revenue coming in. It would have took care of everything and they would have made money. And I wish that would have happened, because if that would have happened, things could have stayed open and stayed going. And that was what I wanted. I wanted the best for them, because the best for them was the best for the boys.
Yeah, absolutely. It didn't help anybody for them to go away. So
no, it didn't help, and I wanted them to stay going so they could brought Tommy back in. We could have another good run.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it. That was the
all
the
I
end
got
times.
to say is to all of that is Larry Burton, Jerry Lawler, the judge. I think the judge knew Jerry better than he did Larry Burton too.
Didn't matter what he said.
Yeah.
Hey,
but that was a valid point. I like the car thing. I mean, that's a good example.
Yeah, very great analogy.
Yeah, Jerry been there forever, and these clowns come in. I mean, and I say clowns, I never did no business with them. Dougie said they paid good. I wish I'd have got some of that too. And we want to see anybody do good. I mean, because if it does good, then it does good. It's good for everybody. So, I mean, it didn't matter who the promoter was. We always wanted it to do good. Yeah.
And Gene, listen, our man downtown Bruno just texted me. So, has he called you yet? We'll have to have him on the show in a week or two or something.
That's fine. We can get him on next week. We just got to figure out what night we want to do it on, because he has his town hall meetings or whatever.
We're gonna let Tommy ask him some questions.
As long as you can fit it into yours and Bruno's schedule, mine and Doug's don't really matter. So just you and Bruno out. I mean, you had all your illnesses and stuff. I mean, I couldn't hardly walk the other day, but I got here to the couch to do mine. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, but yeah, be sure you and Bruno get on the same page and let me and Doug know.
We will do our best to.
But I might be downtown that night, so I might not be able to do it no way.
Well, where else would you be for downtown Bruno but downtown?
There you go.
Damn.
Hey, Bruno might be at Tommy's house.
He needs to be. Tommy needs to. Bruno would love to hang out at the beach for a few days. They could have a big time.
No, he'd have a heck of a time in Gadsden, Alabama, is where he'd be right.
Well, he's told me every time I've talked to him that he did spend some time in Gadsden with Continental, like you did, Tommy. So he's familiar. But well, maybe you can go to Walls then. Go down to Walls, Mississippi, and hang out there. And
yeah.
But yeah,
Tommy might swing by Tunica, but I don't know if he'd stop at Walls.
At Walls, I don't know. I ain't lost nothing at Walls, I don't think.
We're going to get King Reginald on here at some point if we can ever get him to answer his day. He begged me for months, and then now I'm trying to get him on. I can't get him to answer his damn phone, so I don't know.
Hey, I get it. I get a text from him every day, so whenever you want him, we need to get him. He would actually be fun to talk to, wouldn't it, Tommy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that would be fun.
With the implication being someone else wouldn't be fun.
Yeah, so somebody else probably wouldn't like it, but it'd be fun for us.
Well, all right, Tommy. Are we good?
Yes, sir.
All right, Doug. You know the drill.
Listen, guys, thanks everybody for listening. I hope y'all had a good time listening tonight and everything. And like I said, me and Tommy have got about 30 different dates. Tommy's got 50 different dates in 40 days, and I got up about 20 dates in September and everything. But anyway, listen, guys, we appreciate y'all listening. And every Thursday night at midnight, right, Gene, when this drops?
That's right. And by Friday morning, it's there for you.
Friday morning, it'll be there. Everybody listening. Peace. We're out.
Relive the glory days of Memphis wrestling with the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast. Each week, we go back in time to review USWA Championship Wrestling from the 1990s, episode by episode. Join us for watch-alongs, behind-the-scenes stories, and exclusive interviews with people who were there and lived it. Whether you grew up watching it or you're discovering it for the first time, this podcast is your ringside seat to Memphis wrestling history. It's all a part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Listen now at USWApodcast.com.
In the heart of Tennessee, born with pride, Doug and Tommy taking rings in stride. Memphis legends never backing down, wrestling warriors, they wear the crown. USWA glory in their veins, fighting legends breaking chains. In the square circle they made their name. Podcast champions, it's their claim to fame. On the mic they roar, on the map they soar. Dangerous conversations, fans wanting more. Podcast kings ruling the waves. Memphis wrestling raising the stage. From title belts to Hall of Fame, Doug and Tommy carved the name. Fists of fury and hearts of gold. Every story, every fight retold. Tales of glory, laughter, cry. Tennessee warriors with hearts open wide. In the ring or on the air, legends living without a care. On the mic they roar, on the mat they soar. Dangerous conversations, fans wanting more. My guys, kings ruling the waves. Memphis wrestling